All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're tackling something you probably haven't heard much about.
Yeah.
It's called HMPV.
Human Metapneumovirus.
Human Metapneumovirus. That's spelled HMPV.
That's why we shorten it.
HMPV. We're seeing it pop up in the news a lot lately, especially coming out of China. And we've got a fascinating article here that breaks down what HMPV is, why it's suddenly becoming a big deal,
Yeah.
and what it all means for the rest of us.
Exactly.
Even if you're not in China, keeping up with these emerging viruses.
Right.
It helps us all stay informed and prepared.
Absolutely.
Plus, I don't know about you, but I just find this stuff fascinating.
Oh, it's incredibly interesting.
So let's dive in. First off, what exactly is HMPV? I mean, it sounds kind of scary.
Well, the name is a bit intimidating, I'll grant you that.
Yeah.
But HMPV is actually a respiratory virus. It was first discovered back in 2001.
Oh, so it's not brand new.
No, not at all.
All right.
It's been around for a while.
Yeah.
We're just getting better at recognizing it.
So it's like it's been hiding in plain sight all this time.
In a way, yes. We've probably been mistaking it for other respiratory illnesses for years.
Wow, that's kind of wild.
Yeah.
So if it's been around for so long, why is it making headlines NW, especially in China?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? There are a few theories floating around.
Okay.
One thought is that the easing of COVID restrictions might be playing a part.
Makes sense. People are mingling more.
Exactly. More opportunity for viruses to jump around.
Right.
And then there's the natural ebb and flow of viruses. They tend to have their seasons.
Like flu season.
Exactly. HMPV seems to be following a similar pattern.
So it's kind of like HMPV's moment in the spotlight.
You could say that.
And speaking of spotlights, the article mentioned it's hitting kids particularly hard.
Yeah, that's one of the things that makes HMPV stand out. It seems to really target children under 14.
I wonder why that is.
Well, researchers are still trying to figure that out, but it could be that younger immune systems are just more vulnerable to it.
That makes sense.
Or it could be something about the way kids interact, close contact and all that.
Yeah, playgrounds and schools, the perfect breeding grounds for germs.
Unfortunately true.
So for us non-scientist types, what does HMPV actually look like? I mean, symptom-wise.
Well, that's the tricky part. The symptoms are very similar to a lot of other respiratory illnesses.
Oh, so like the flu or a cold.
Exactly. Cough, fever, runny nose congestion, the usual suspects.
Joy.
Some people also experience wheezing, which can be a sign it's affecting the lower airways. But here's the catch.
Okay.
You can't really tell it apart from other bugs just by symptoms alone.
So I can't just be like, oh, I have a cough, I must have HMPV.
I'm afraid not. You need a doctor to make that call.
So how do they figure it out?
Lab tests mainly. They can do a PCR test specifically for HMPV.
Just like the COVID tests.
Yep, same idea.
Yeah.
And that accurate diagnosis is super important because it helps determine the best course of treatment.
Speaking of treatment, what's the good news? Is there a magic pill or something?
Well, I wouldn't say magic pill, but there is some good news. The vast majority of people who get HMPV recover just fine on their own.
Okay, phew.
But there's no specific vaccine or antiviral medication for it just yet.
Oh, so it's all about managing the symptoms then?
Pretty much. Lots of rest fluids, over-the-counter meds for fever and congestion, that sort of thing.
Sounds familiar.
It is. But of course, for people with underlying health conditions or anyone experiencing severe symptoms, hospitalization might be necessary.
Right, of course. So it sounds like prevention is going to be our best friend here.
Absolutely.
Is it the same old advice? Wash your hands, don't touch your face, all that jazz?
Yep. Those tried and true methods are still our best bet.
Figures.
Yeah.
And hey, maybe all that COVID stuff we went through wasn't a total waste after all.
You're right. All those lessons about masks and distancing and ventilation,
Right.
They apply to HMPV as well.
It's like we've leveled up our germ fighting skills.
Exactly. We're better prepared than ever before.
So to sum it all up,
Yeah.
what are the key takeaways about HMPV? What do we really need to know?
Well, first and foremost, HMPV is a common respiratory virus. It's been around, but we're just now getting a clearer picture of its impact.
Yep.
Second, while it's usually mild, it can pose a bigger risk for folks who are already vulnerable.
Oh, God.
And third, prevention is key. Those good hygiene habits we've all learned, they're still our best defense.
Right. So even though COVID might be fading from the headlines, the whole public health thing is still super important.
Absolutely. We can't let our guard down.
And it makes you wonder what else is out there lurking.
Doesn't it? Oh, HMPV is just one example. There are probably tons of viruses we haven't even identified yet.
Okay, now that's both fascinating and a little bit terrifying.
It is a bit of both, isn't it? But it's a good reminder that we need to keep learning, keep researching, keep improving our global surveillance and response systems.
So basically, we need to be ready for whatever comes next.
Well, that's a thought-provoking note to end on. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of HMPV, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. We'll be back soon with more fascinating topics to explore. So until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay healthy.